Good afternoon to us all. You're all welcome to this live feed. For all of you that are joining us live on Facebook, from Little Hansel Green page, the NEMA page, and NFA Facebook pages, kindly go through there and post your questions. My name is Camilla from Uganda Little Hansel Green. All protocol observed. You're most welcome as we enjoy the breeze. I think this is the most suitable place that we can ever have an environmental discussion, if rather than boardrooms. I think it's much better. So we're going to have to start with the national anthem, Uganda national anthem, followed by the East African anthem. May we rise? Thank you.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free for liberty, together we'll always stand. Oh,
Okay, thank you for that. The program is going to be led by our brand ambassadors. It's Little Hands Go Green, so the rest of us have to take a back seat a little bit. But we have our ambassadors who are going to introduce themselves and run the program. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paula Marie Kadaya, Senior Ambassador for Uganda Little Hands Go Green. I joined Uganda Little Hands Go Green in 2016 and I've been pursuing it with my whole heart. Thanks to Uganda Little Hands Go Green, I've been able to embrace the environment much more. I'm here with my fellow ambassadors. They'll introduce themselves.
Greetings to you all. My name is Mutesi Antonia and I'm in Trinity Primary School. I joined Uganda Little Hands Go Green in 2019 and I'm happy to be an ambassador.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nemo Njikisha and I go to Trinity Primary School. I became an ambassador in 2019 when I was in Primary 5. I'm so happy that I'm an ambassador and I've got this opportunity to tell everyone about the environment and to keep our environment green. Thank you.
So today we're here with our wonderful panel. I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm called Tom Obong Okello. I work as the Executive Director of National Forestry Authority. Glad to be here and to meet the little ambassadors here.
Jacob Oulanyah, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, an environmentalist.
Okay. My name is Tom Okurut. I'm the Executive Director of NEMA.
And my name is Joseph Masembe. I am the team leader and founder of Little Hands Go Green. Thank you.
So today we're here at Mulongo Beach in Munyano, which has been highly affected by the rising water levels that happened recently. Behind me you see that the water levels have risen and lots of buildings were destroyed. You see, the environment has been impacted highly by our choices, and the environment is taking a stand and affecting us also. So, how does the environment correlate with your occupation, your posts?
Environment is basically the whole expanse of what you see. And much of the things you see around are natural resources, apart from the built resources, but the natural resources. And as a forest officer, as a forest manager, I'm managing part of the environment, which is that green forest, which you see, that is part of the environment. So my work is very important and necessary because one, I'm managing part of the environment, which is very important. But also that part which I'm managing is a solution to many of the problems which you see. You have heard about global warming, you have heard about flooding, you have heard about changing temperatures, and then unpredictable weather patterns. That is most of the time ameliorated by the existence of the forest resources which we have on this land, including even soil erosion, including that soil degradation, nutrient disappearing from the soil. It is covered by that green aspect which we have in the environment. Thank you very much.
Same question for everyone. How does the environment correlate with your occupation?
You see, I don't know how to deal with that question. But I think we have to go to the original design of what life should have been. How God had created this universe to be. Initially, by God's intention, He created the waters, He created the rivers, He created the trees, He created everything. And inside it, created a sustainability system that made life possible. There's too much interference with this original design. The air gets polluted, and yet by original design, air was supposed to be pure because the trees clean the air. But because we have interfered with the trees, we have put so many things in the air, now we have everything. Air is polluted. In many places now people wear masks. Even before COVID, in some cities people were wearing masks because of air pollution. We should not be having this. So the way it affects us is the human activity, the ingenuity of the human being has disrupted the original design and is now causing disasters. And these disasters are now a response system for the original design to try and come back and be what it was. So when you see the lake swelling, that's what it was supposed to be. We have interfered with it too much. We have opened up the soils. The soils have run into the waters. They have become shallow. So the water levels start coming up and everybody gets affected. So until we all decide that we have to go back and recreate the original design, protect the trees, keep everything clean, avoid these wetlands, and let these things be the sieving mechanism for soil not to go into the waters to affect the levels that now begin to affect everybody else. So that's how it affects us. And we need to work on this very, very systematically.
Okay. I'll pick on from there. And before I answer how environment affects my work is environment 100% regulated, all activity in the environment. But I think understanding what environment is what has been a difficult thing. What's environment? He has said the original construct, if we are a Bible reader, that God created everything, and the last thing it created was man, or human beings. But the last to be put there to dominate, benefit, use, and survive. Now, you cannot define environment without people. If you define environment without people, then on the creation history, then you have stopped at the level where man was not brought in. Man was brought in, and man or human beings are part and parcel of the environment. The drivers of change, the drivers of greed, the drivers of all what is happening is ourselves, acting to survive, but maybe over-survive. We're given enough. Gives us whatever is enough for us. But in the quest for development, we are using those resources to survive ourselves. And when our survival or our drive overcomes the sustainability, then we say we are degrading. That's why you are seeing what you are seeing here. When we live and say, let me eat 2 mangoes, leave 2 for tomorrow, we are talking about sustainability, so that we are able to live today and also live for tomorrow. So that is the construct of work, and our work, and my work centrally, our work centrally is to regulate the activities of man towards those surroundings that near him.
What can I say? I've spent the past 8 years trying to live and breathe environment. And in that better understanding of the crisis that we face as a people, I decided to focus with a team of young people on the Green Ambassadors, on teaching environmental conservation education and activism to the children, because the children have enough pistol pressure that they can put on their parents, their teachers, in their schools, and the communities where they live. So with the help of NEMA, NFA, and I think Deputy Speaker has been jumping up and down with us so many times, we have been on a quest as Little Ones Go Green to keep reminding people that nature needs us to take care of it so it can also take care of us. And why we chose to come here today was simply because in being here, we remind people that they are not being chased out of their businesses, out of their homes, out of their areas. It is nature that is beginning to cry out and say, I'm suffocating. So once nature suffocates, it comes and takes over these buildings that we have set up. So in the same process, we are here today and will continue to be here only for as long as we nature, we respect it, and we learn to coexist together. That is the Little Ones Go Green way. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Speaker, we're here to talk about environment. Now, in Parliament, have there been any discussions about environment, any environmental activities that they could do for us, and what was it about?
In Parliament, that's where we was.
This one.
Parliament is where we do the laws. Parliament is where we approve the policies that relate to issues of environment. Parliament is where we pass the budget, money that should be spent on issues of dealing with issues of environment. That's where our work is. And we have all these people, technical people. Mr. Tom, there are two Toms here, Tom Okello, Tom Kurut, Forestry, Environment. They all bring suggestions to what should be done to improve issues on the environment. And this matter has come to Parliament. And when it comes to Parliament, we really have good debates about this thing. There are many members of Parliament who are so concerned about these things, and they have taken it up to provide leadership. If you remember the days of John Ken Luchamuzi, who was very vocal about issues of environment, I think he opposed many of these activities that took place here, and he was right in one way or the other. But we are now beginning to see that some of the things he used to say actually made sense. We had people like Honorable Beatrice Anywa, who was even been called Mama Mabira, and now she has become even a minister in charge of the sector. So we have these committed people who are driven by nothing personal, but the general seeing that these things, we can change them. We can change the cause and make our lives better if only we protect the environment around us. If only we use the environment around us sustainably. If we go to forest, we have to cut and plant. We need firewood, yes, but when you get the firewood, you must plant more trees so that there is no devastation. You take, you replace. You take, you replace. So there are this commitment everywhere in Parliament, and many of the decisions that come out of Parliament in environment are actually very supportive. And I'm sure my friend Dr. Okurutia and Tomia would not complain about the things that come out of Parliament, that they are not doing a good job about issues of the environment. We're really trying our best to make sure that whatever is proposed to us, we process them in a way that brings their reflections and their concerns into light, and we throw money at the problem. We put regulations in place to enable them regulate the activities of man, like he has said, so that we can conserve the environment. So we are trying to do our best as Parliament also to achieve this.
Thank you. One of my ambassadors has a question.
Hello. This question is for Dr. Tom Okut. Our theme for this year is It's Time for Nature. What is it exactly that you as NEMA recommend the population to do for nature?
The theme for today is a global theme. It's time for nature. It's a theme that's being celebrated where the global celebrations are in. Now, what the emphasis is to give us opportunity to rethink, to refocus our thinking, our planning, to give nature space. To give nature space for it to survive. And it's also premised on that there's been a lot of pressure which has been mounted on the nature globally, and nature has not been having a breathing space. And so it is important that time is given space is given, importance is given, and as rightly said by the Honourable Deputy Speaker, laws are enacted to protect nature. Money is given to protect nature. And I must say that nature is an infrastructure. We need to invest in the infrastructure of nature just as we invest in roads. Because nature infrastructure is infrastructure that is the natural infrastructure, but it needs to be nurtured. It needs to be sustained. And that's why globally today all over, the focus is to draw attention to government, to parliaments, to refocus their planning, their budgeting allocation and whatever, to give it to so that nature can be given sufficient resources for it to come back to serve humanity.
This question goes to Mr. Tom Okello. How best have you been able to conserve, protect, and support reforestation in the communities?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ambassador. Possibly to reflect on the theme further. The national theme is nature is speaking. Let us listen. Am I right, Tom?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, nature speaks in a language that many people don't understand. Doesn't speak Kiswahili, doesn't speak Luganda. Nature speaks by action. In fact, you don't hear the language, but you feel it, you see it, and you run away from it. The language of landslides, the language of flooding, the language of destruction of properties and even loss of life. That is nature speaking when we misuse it. I've also been wondering why God did not rest on day 5 of creation. Possibly man would not be there, and then nature would be intact. You see, if God had rested on day 5, we would not be created, because man was created on day 6, and God rested, and that was the end of creation. Now, what we have done to promote tree planting within the community, there are several things. One, when you look at the NRM manifesto for 2016-2021, Uganda was supposed to plant 100 million trees. I'm happy to inform you that we have planted more than 100 million trees. Moreover, in 4 years. This is the 5th year. Now we're entering the 5th year. But in the 4 years, we have planted over 100 million trees already. How has this been done? Just like the Deputy Speaker said, Parliament appropriated funds to facilitate this activity through what we call the Community Tree Planting Project, where seedlings are raised by National Forest Authority and given to the communities for free to go and plant and look after it. So that one has been done by government, the money was appropriated by Parliament, and we have been getting that money, and we have raised these seedlings and people are planted. And I also want to tell Ugandans that for the first time in 30 years, we have witnessed an increase in forest cover in the country, from the 9% in 2015 to 12.4%. That increase of 3.4% is no mean task, considering that we are still witnessing a lot of deforestation, especially in the northern part of the country and in parts of the eastern part of Uganda. I'm happy to inform you that Western Uganda, most part of Central, except Nakasongola, is doing very well in terms of tree cover recovery. So this is something which has been done. It can be done. And we have the resolve, we have the will, we have the commitment. We want to do it. We must reverse the deforestation which has been taking place, and then we forge a way forward. Either we restore, we sustainably manage, and protect what we have, or else nature will work on us. We will not live, we will perish. So that is nature. It is very dangerous. It can speak, and that language you don't understand, but you run away from it when it is speaking.
Thank you. We have a question from one of our viewers, Mr. Robinson Abbott Labai. This is directed to Mr. Tom Okort. What tangible steps are being taken to apprehend the big people destroying the environment with impunity?
Thank you very much. In managing environment, there is always a tendency to say that there are big people who are destroying the environment, there are small people who are destroying it small, and so forth. Environment degradation is a degradation, whether you're a big actor or whatever. As I said, the parliament, again, go back to parliament, last year enacted the new National Environment Act of 2019, replaced the one of 1995, because so many things have taken place and there was need to change. The Act sets out a lot of activities or handling people who are on the other side of the law. And part of the activities now is that the fines that are in the Act now are very, very prohibitive. Right now in our office there, we got so many, about 7 lorries. I don't know what they were doing. They were dumping, clearing a wetland in Mpigi, very behind which, but was reported by the people. The local people reported, and then when we apprehended them, we decided to apply the new law. If your trailer, if your truck comes there, and the truck is caught in action, the fine is equivalent to 20 million for you to recover your lorry from us. And we have 7 of them there. And we're waiting for the owners. We're going to, well, the drivers have vanished, the owners of the trucks have now appeared themselves. So we apply the law. But the law is applicable in terms of, in effectively, if the public, and that means everybody does his or her part. Your part is, this is happening, you report. Because we're in Kampala, what's happening here you may not see. But there is a neighbor here, there's a neighbor here, the law says, please, the Constitution puts a responsibility on you, the individual. It first guarantees you a right to a clean environment, but also requires you to be responsible. Puts your responsibility on you. So your work is to report, and then collectively work together. So it's an ongoing activity, and we don't have small, we don't have big people breaking the law. The law is broken by you at whatever level.
My question goes to you again.
Yep.
In the beginning of 2020, we were struck with the pandemic COVID-19. Now, different countries around the world have been saying that because of locking down the country, the environment is healing. Do you think that has happened for Uganda also?
I think, and I will only discuss in terms of one perspective. The air quality of Kampala, which is part of the environment. And remember I told you, God's creation, if you look at that one, everything, even the air here, air is alive. So we have air that we breathe, fresh air. Now we are here at the lake breathing very fresh air. So we have been having we've been monitoring the water quality, the air quality of Kampala since last year, looking at the trends. And when COVID started, and towards the end of last month, we noticed that the air of Kampala became fresher, 60% better than it was before. Why? It's obvious that the air quality of Kampala is not affected by industries, because industries will regulate them very well. The air quality of Kampala is affected by vehicles and boda, because boda are the most inefficient fuel. They have 2 stroke engines. They don't burn fuel efficiently. So the more the bodas, the more the air becomes polluted. So during COVID, quarantine, and also curfew, no bodas were moving. So, and there are few vehicles in the city, and as a result, we noticed that there was that improvement in air quality. Now, what government has done is, I think Parliament had temporarily stopped the functionality of the inspection, the vehicle inspection centers that were set up by SGS. I think that has been overcome now. Starting in July, Ministry of Works is implementing a vehicle inspection undertaking. All vehicles will be inspected, And if your vehicle does not pass a certain stage of efficiency of the engine, it will be delicensed. But you're not supposed to run it. That way, we hope that we should be able to minimize the pollution that is coming from badly maintained vehicles that are all over in Kampala. The other aspects of the environment which have healed is that the human being, as I told you, the human being is the component number one in the environment. The activities have been curtailed. And so the that they have been doing like overfishing, using poison to catch fish, most of those activities stopped. So yes, COVID has come. It has told us one thing, as I said, there used to be a debate that there is air pollution in Kampala is from industry. COVID has told us that no, it is the vehicles and bajajes, not because the industries were working over the time. So the pollution was coming from the motor vehicles. So now we know that's the target, and therefore interventions that the government should target is there. And you remember we went to Parliament, the Deputy Speaker is here. We made a proposal based on scientific information that all the vehicles not more than 8 years should not be brought in the country. But I think Parliament, because they represent people, they refused and said no, then people will not have cars. So I think up to 15 years, 10 years, but also 15 years for the trucks, for the old vehicles allowed in. So we're again going to go to Parliament. Now we have data. Go back to Parliament and so that we can enact a better law to control our air quality.
This question goes to the founder of Little Hands Go Green. We have seen that you develop plans with basically children to protect the environment. What is the driving force behind this, and why do you choose children?
Children are the future leaders of tomorrow. There is an ancient saying among the ancient Americans, who people call the Red Indians, that we do not inherit this land from our parents. We simply borrow it from our children. So every time you involve children in any activity or exercise, you're guaranteed a greener and better future. Because a child's mind is like wet cement. Every time you write on it, whatever you write on it remains permanent. So if you involve children in any exercise, then you're bound to have continuity. Because most of us are growing old. We have a few gray hairs, and we'll go tomorrow. I can remember so many years ago when you first became a green ambassador, we used to sit and talk about just planting trees. Now you're here hosting an international online conversation just a year or so after you left primary school. That alone is the future of the direction we want to take. So the reason why we embed ourselves in children and stick to children alone is because we want to guarantee our tomorrow. You have heard nature calling out and speaking and pushing us out of these lockups that we have here. It means that if we do not teach our children to uphold that, then even if NEMA leaves and Parliament says so many things, 20 years from now, you'll be a deputy speaker and you'll go and change everything. But if we inculcate it in the children at a tender age, then we are guaranteed a better future for us and for generations to come. So that is the reason why for us, the children are the epicenter of all our activities. Thank you.
This question goes to the Deputy Speaker. As children and as children of the nation, we would like you to advise and task us with conservation plans so that we don't go wrong with the planet.
I have a 14-year-old daughter, and yesterday she was telling me about a movie called Lorax, that she has watched it about 15 times. She was telling me. And a little story about a city that was now in a wall. In that city, oxygen was being sold by some rich man. So there was a little boy, 12-year-old boy, called Ted. He decides that he wants to find a tree, because everything was artificial. He wants to find a live tree for somebody that he loved. So he went on search to find out where he could find a live tree. And he met these people. He told us this whole place used to be forested. But somebody came and started cut out one tree to make sweaters. Then his family insisted. They cut all the trees and was left with only one seed. Now this man was cutting all the trees. Once the trees got finished, he ran out of business and the entire family left him. Now, Lorax was the guardian of the forest. And he also organized all the animals and they all disappeared. This one tree, this one seed that was left, the guardian of the forest gave to Ted, the young man. The young man came and planted that one tree, and there was reforestation, and the animals came back, and everybody was okay. A 12-year-old boy. Now, this story of Lorax would be one of those things that can inspire children. So that they see that in even barren situations, there were trees in those places, and they can be planted, and they will grow. So if you're talking about strategies of how we can utilize our children, just like Joseph has said, if they understand these things at an early age, they'll grow with it. It'll become part of them. Personally, I understood the environment at a very early age, and it has lived with me. Even at the university, my dissertation was on how to make agriculture sustainable with the environment. I studied, my thesis was on agroforestry. How do you combine crops and trees in a sustainable way? I look at all the legislation since the colonial times. Which law was good, which was removed because of changes that the interest that people have. The original laws that were there were very good. But over time, we started altering them to accommodate our own interests, because we want to take land here, we want to remove a forest that was in existence here, we want to create new situations where certain things were already existing. So if children understand these things and they become involved as they grow, that is the generation that will go back, take us back to the original design that we must protect the environment, because that is how our life is. That is what sustains us. Nothing else sustains us. The air we breathe, the food we eat, everything comes from the environment. So if we understand that concept, then we'll be the ambassadors like you are to inform everybody else, our parents. You find your father creating a building. He goes into a place that is forested. He cuts trees down. And what does he replace it with? He cuts grass down. He digs the soil and he puts pavement. Puts a pavement. And now instead of a tree shed, he puts an umbrella. And you're happy. But as a child, you could intervene. Because from a tree to an umbrella, everything has gone wrong. A tree has use, an umbrella does not. What does the umbrella do at night? What does it do during the day? What does it do in the... Nothing. The pavement that is on the compound, what does it do? Nothing. Instead, we work for the grass, we leave the trees, and we have the shades from the trees. It's more sustainable environmentally than seeing the things that are happening. So that's how children in families, in schools, can begin influencing how we adults do certain things. My daughter is very inquisitive about these things. Why are you doing that? Every time we are going to the village, she's carrying trees to go and plant. And that's what we do with her. That's how she started telling me about the story of Lorax. I'd never watched that thing, but I'm going to watch it now. Thank you.
This question also goes to the Deputy Speaker of Parliament from one of the viewers, Mr. Robinson. Leaders like LCV, Chairman of Gulu, have been openly and physically fighting charcoal burning in his district. Is there some sort of appreciation to motivate other leaders to do the same?
Well, motivation can be there. But our overall motivation should be that it is our commitment to make sure that the environment is protected. Because if we are looking for motivation, that's another ball game altogether. The thing is, what you are doing is not for you. What you are doing is for something bigger than you as an individual. The motivation that you can get is that if these things are stopped and the trees grow back, northern Uganda, the natural forests that we had were enormous. Enormous. The protection was enormous. They provided the watersheds. Now, streams that used to provide water have all dried out because the watersheds have been tampered with. And this charcoal is not used there. They find their way into the city here. So by doing what they are doing, and they're not doing it alone, they're doing with the support from the members of parliament. We help them with drafting of the bylaws to try and stop these things. But people come from here and they go there. But now we have a contradiction. And the contradiction is about poverty. You find a man, he has had these acres of land with forest. He has school fees to pay. And somebody comes offering him 500,000 to cut down this forest in one night. Because now they do it at night. They come with a power source. Before you know it, everything is down. And that is what is causing problems. So the real motivation for our leaders is that if these things can be stopped, the restoration of the lives in the communities, the water points that were drying down, they start coming up. That would be our true motivation. But if we are going to look for rewards and things like that, well, we can give you certificates of recognition, we can give you this, but that cannot help if it is not, if that is your drive, then it is below what should be done. It should be a commitment, a personal commitment that this is the right thing to do and I'm going to do it right.
Thank you. This question to Dr. Okello, Tom. On my way today, I saw a bunch of policemen and their truck said environmental police. I was confused, like, what do they do? Environmental police, what exactly do they do?
Environmental police basically, they enforce the environmental laws. You have been told that there is a law for environment which was enacted in 2019. We have the law for forestry which was enacted in 2003. And NEMA is not like, NEMA, National Forest Authority, is not like Uganda Wildlife Authority. Uganda Wildlife Authority has its own force in form of the ranger force that are trained paramilitarily. They carry guns, they protect the wildlife resources in this country. Now, NEMA cannot move to a wetlands bare-handed. In fact, when it started, it was moving bare-handed. Even National Forest Authority, when it started, a forest ranger would walk in a forest and arrest somebody bare-handed. But I think Ugandans have become more defiant. And if you try to arrest them bare-handed now, you end up losing your life or remaining in the forest. There are people whom they have tied on trees, enforcers. They tie you on a tree and leave you there. Now, because of that, government decided to create that specialized unit of the police force called the environmental police. And their work is to work with NEMA, work with National Forest Authority, work with wetlands to enforce the environmental laws and to protect our environment. And also to give protection to the people enforcing the law.
Thank you. This question is still for Mr. Tom Okello. One of the viewers called Princess Trinidad is asking, why are we not talking about the flower gardens? Don't you think this would be a beautiful part of nature too?
It depends on the type of flower garden we are talking of. If they are natural flower gardens, very well, very good. But if we are to import flowers, we may end up importing weeds into the country. If you recall, when Uganda suffered from the impacts of the water hyacinths, which came around the late 1990s and covered almost all our water bodies and was choking the Nile, choking Lake Victoria, choking Lake Choga. All this was because somebody brought that water weed as a flower to this country. It was looking nice when it flowers, but it ended up being a very big problem for the country. I think the other thing is that, you know, there are certain things which Ugandans love nature. They love that natural aspects. If you see somebody going to Mabira Forest, for example, to go and watch flowers there. And I think if you tell the deputy speaker to go and watch your flower somewhere under that tree, it may not be very exciting, like going to watch flowers in its natural setting. I know flowers are very good outside the country. For example, in Europe, people must buy flowers because climate does not allow some of these flowers to grow naturally. So they buy from us. We have flower gardens, which are there are people who are producing flowers on industrial, and this is for export. It is bringing revenue to the economy. It is bringing foreign exchange to the economy. Before COVID, that was one of Uganda's exports. But when the airport was closed and goods were not moving, we have lost that revenue. So flowering can be done for that industrial purpose, for exports, and we get money. But I think Ugandans haven't reached that level yet where they will go to flower gardens, but we rather go to botanical gardens. So what I would advocate is we establish more botanical gardens in Uganda where the younger generation, where the old people can go and learn about nature, and where we can conserve some of the species which are disappearing from the wilderness. It is like a mini zoo. A zoo is mainly for wild animals, but this is a zoo for plants.
Thank you. Today we're joined by Mr. Joel Lugolobi, the Vice Chairman LC2 from Salami. He has a question to ask Dr. Okrut.
Protocol observed. My name's Joel Lugolobi. As she said, I'm the Vice Chairman of LC2. Actually, Salama Parish. We are apologizing that we actually came to learn about this almost on time, and my boss had to send me to be here. We are most privileged to whoever organized this, but through our network, we got to know that it's an important function in our area. I'm requesting that on behalf of the people of Salama Munyonyo, what message can I take back, sir? And Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, what message can I take back? I am here on behalf of the area of this parish, Munyonyo Parish. Thank you very much. I came around with him. He has the biggest school in Munyonyo, in our community. It's a primary school. We came to learn that the function here is about children. So he let him out to take a message when school. Thank you.
What message do you take? Today is World Environment Day. And you have been told the theme that nature is speaking, but we are not listening. Sometimes when nature speaks, we have no means of understanding it, but it speaks in such a way that we find ourselves running away from nature. It has spoken in many ways, like Dr. Tom Okello has said. It speaks through landslides, it speaks through floods, it speaks through all these other things that we are now seeing becoming a danger to all of us. So go tell the community that it is time to listen to nature. And the agents of nature that are trained to detect what language nature will speak. And there's people like Dr. Okrut, the Tom Okello, who over time have been trained to understand the language of nature. And they advise that please don't do this. Don't cut trees. Don't build in the wetlands. Don't block the swamps. Don't degrade the swamps. Don't remove the vegetation in the swamps. Because if you do that, those things are catchment that designed naturally to purify water before it goes into the lake or into the river. So they interpret this language to us, and they transform this language into policy and advice to government, into legislation, in the laws that are made. So sometimes when the people come to enforce laws, you say, we don't want to see you. Why are you doing this? But all those things have gone through processes, through this interpretation of a language that ordinarily we don't understand, but to try and protect us so that life within the environment becomes sustainable. So that when I build a house, I am under no threat that over time anything will happen to it. When they advise me that if you are built on a hill, plant trees around it, so that when the winds come, they can have a break before they assault your house. If you don't listen to them, the winds will come and the house will go, because you have not understood the translation of the language of nature, because nature speaks all the time. And when you respond to their call, it responds positively. You plant trees, I am telling you, where there are watersheds, the springs will come. The waters will come out of the soil. You remove those trees, the water. You remove general trees, even where there are boreholes, those boreholes will start lacking water because the water tables are beginning to go down. So that is the message you should send to the community, that let's listen to those people who advise us about the language that nature speaks, that the environment speaks to us. When they do, they are simply telling us how we can live sustainably with the environment, within the environment. And for the schools, the gentleman who has, you have thousands of ambassadors there. This one started like those ones. But they are now speaking everywhere, telling everybody the importance of conservation and making the environment support us in a sustainable way. How we should not destroy it, because if we destroy it, down we go with it. And that is the message that we should be sending across. Get as many children as possible involved in this campaign, because for them, they will sing, they will dance, they will talk. They are everywhere. In every household, you have children. So that would be the ambassadors that we need to recruit. So for your people there, I don't know how many children you have in the school, but imagine all of them going one morning and start talking about the environment and conservation and things like this. Then we'll spread the message to the elders and to everybody. I think that's what I can say about what we do.
Let me just add one other aspect. Sometime in July, I happened to be somewhere where they were presenting papers. And one guy said, will you guys in the East African region come starting 2020, 2021, 2023, you're going to have high rains. And I got interested, and after the talk, I went to him and said, can you give me your scientific model? Let's study it and see whether it works. So I came back in August last year. I said, now whom am I going to give this message? Of course, first I give internally to my colleagues in the sector. I give colleagues. I talked to some members of parliament, the Minister of Disaster. I said, disaster is coming. But they say, no, it's far. So this rise in water levels came known to us by August last year. We knew it was going to occur. Okay? And it's going to be like this to 2023. That's from the science, that guy's model. We're going to have sustained rainfall. We're going to have sustained water levels up to 2023. So when these things started coming, we said, no, we are better save our people now, because this is not a river water, where it rains now, and after rain, 1 hour it goes. Now this one is here with us to stay. Now the message is there. He just said it. As a local councillor, the main message that local councils have been the main transformers of the environment within their localities, negatively. All over Uganda. They're the ones who will sell the wetland, they will sell this, sell what. By the time you go, the man said, but the LC sold me the land, the LC is not there, whatever. And that has really happened. And really, they did not listen to the advice. This time around, very unfortunately, nature has spoken negatively. And as I said, as a scientist who came to know about this disaster way back in last year, I felt very bad. We started warning people to leave. By the way, we decided to take that as our responsibility, that please get out of here. They said, no, you want to take our land. That was the response. I said, okay, something else will take your land. And he has done so. We came here. Here. Came here, went to that beach, went everywhere, and we are telling them, please, not sustainable. They said, no, you have come again, you want to take our land. So the message from the local politicians was that one. So we're saying the nature is speaking, and they said we interpret the nature language. Please listen. When people advise you, listen. And I think the good thing with the students and schools, they have a capacity to listen. The children, they have a capacity to listen, and they have a capacity to, if their parents or guardians can listen to them, they should be able to transform. That we all need to live in a very free and comfortable environment. This COVID, just diverting. They say COVID is around, it's Uganda, we're lucky no one has died so far. But elsewhere people are dying in numbers. But when you look at the science of it, what is the cause? The environment has been disturbed. The environment has been disturbed. And there's nowhere to run. So it's either we listen or we don't listen. The choice is ours. But as LC, as a proprietor of a school, I hope this message goes through to you.
Thank you. The question I have for you, the question still goes to you. One of Uganda's economic activities is oil mining. How will NEMA monitor and ensure that our environment is safe with the proposed oil pipeline and drilling?
Thank you. My neighbor, the deputy speaker, they process the laws. The government, the executive part of government decided that they want to get this oil. Unfortunately, the oil is in the fragile areas. The oil is in the national parks, it's in the deltas where the water is, and so forth. But government said, let's apply science and see whether we can get that oil and still have the environment safe or maintain the national parks, sustaining the business that it does now, like tourism. So what we have done, we have understudied other legislations, people who have mined the oil before, who have done very well. We have also gone to understudy those who have done very badly and decided to learn this is where not to go. There are some laws, that provision that we proposed and went to Parliament, and Parliament passed the laws. And we're sure that some of those provisions are lessons that we learned from the other places, that if this was done, if we don't do like this, we're going to go this way. So we chose to propose some of the legislations and put there. We have also trained people. We have established monitoring stations. We have, as a continuous training. We have to continuously train people that who have knowledge about the pollution, who have knowledge in licensing. Nothing goes in the oil industry without licensing. Every stage of licensing we are there to ensure that they do it correctly. And also the waste that comes in. So I must assure the country that we proposed legislation, went to Parliament, Parliament enacted very good legislation which we are following in order to regulate activities of all those who will go into mine, who are going to extract oil from the sensitive areas of Uganda, the environment, national parks or the laws. In fact, for instance, I give you an example. Some of the deep wells are found in the delta where the Nile meets the Albert, or before the Nile meets the Albert. There. Very beautiful area. If you go there, that's where all the animals are. They really enjoy it. But down there, that's also where the oil is. But we said, okay, now we know there is technology that you can put your rig there, 2 kilometers. You go down, maybe how many kilometers down, go get your oil. You get your oil from down, up here there is an activity going on. So we agreed on those. Those are the types of alternative drilling method that were proposed. So key thing is that you have to get personnel studied, educated in the business, so that you are not don't have pseudo people who can't understand what takes place.
Thank you. This question goes to the founder of Little Hands Go Green. Where do you see our environment in the next 10 to 20 years?
That is one of the most difficult questions you can ask a human being. Because if you had asked me that question in January, I would tell you that we would be amazingly enjoying ourselves. We would be in Mulungo eating fish. But now in June, we cannot eat fish in Mulungo at the beach, which therefore means that in 10 to 20 years, if we do not regulate our human activity, if we do not wake up and listen to what nature is telling us that, guys, I'm coming. You have locusts coming all the way from Yemen, crossing country after country, entering Uganda. And they go back and they will come back. We have rivers and floods waking up every 2 days. If you go to America, you will see that in America, these hurricanes that used to happen every 100 years now happen almost after 3-4 years. Every year. And now they have become so familiar that they are giving them human names. Hurricane Isaac, Katrina, Paul, James, John, and the rest. So to answer your question, where I see the environment going in 20, 30 years, I am hoping and praying very hard that our children can be more versatile, more determined, more agile, to make a difference to their environment. Because if the children do not pick these lessons today, we are doomed. We are doomed. So human activity is very key in determining that answer in 20, 30 years. But the answer lies with you, me, our children, and our grandchildren. So if we can keep up this mantle, someone was asking, how do I become a Little Hands Go Green ambassador? I said, that do you have a pen and paper? Yes. Are you ready? Will you promise to protect the environment? Will you do your best? Will you avoid pollution? Good. You're a green ambassador. It is as simple as that. It is a commitment. I read law. I studied law. I don't practice it. I'm here teaching children how to plant trees. I could have gone and become a lawyer. If so many of us can go and do what you are doing, what I'm doing, and I think ED of NEMA said, he came here after picking the lesson and said, people, you need to go, the water is coming. They say, you want to steal land. So, you get the point. Yes.
Joseph,
yes.
I think the question should be asked the other way around. I think the question should be, what do we want the environment to be like in 20 years?
Okay, the question should be, want the environment to be like in 20 to 30 years.
Because if you do not know where you are going, any road will. Now, if we decide that in 20 years, this is what we wish our environment to look like, then deliberately you design what path to take you to how you want it to look. That's why that building, they did not start building until the plan was drawn. They finish it, they structure it, they look at the soil and they say, we want this building to look like this. Then they start cutting the foundation. But so I think the question should be the other way around. As green ambassador, little Hands Go Green, an ambassador, what should be the structure of our environment in 20 years? And what do we do now, tomorrow, next week, to achieve it in 20 years? Because we cannot live it like we are not in control. Because God, like he said, go, dominate, and what? And multiply and dominate what I have given you, and multiply and fill the earth. Feed on it. There is no tree that will eat its own fruit. That tree, the fruit that is produced, is almost all the time for a human being. How do we deal with this in a structured way so that we know where we're going?
Thank you. This question goes to Mr. Tom Okello. It's from one of our viewers, Robinson George. Can National Forestry Authority provide seedlings for those interested directly? Secondly, please comment on Budongo forest that is being taken.
Yeah, the issue of seedlings, I think I'd already talked about it, that we have a community tree planting program where we produce seedlings and give to the communities for free. So if that individual is interested in planting trees, let him visit the National Forest Authority headquarters if it's within Kampala. But if it's outside Kampala, he can visit any NFA offices which is within the districts there. He will be assisted and is going to get seedlings to plant. But we are encouraging people to plant indigenous species. We don't want you to, we want to bring back what has been taken. That one which you have been taking for charcoal burning, we want to bring them back. So if I give you a species which is good for burning charcoal in future, don't ask me how many years it will take. When you are cutting these ones which you are cutting, you are not mindful of the years it has taken to reach where it has reached, to give you that firewood which you need. So get it, go and plant, and when you plant, you look after it. The second question on which forest? Budongo?
Yes.
Budongo, we have no problem with Budongo. Budongo is one of the best managed forests in Uganda, and it is the biggest. It is the biggest forest in Uganda. It is over 80,000 hectares. That is 800 square kilometers of tropical high forest. So Budongo has no problem. But probably you are talking about Bugoma. There is a forest called Bugoma, which is in Oima, where we have been having contentions with the kingdom of Bunyoro Gitara, and over some title which was created in the forest, in what we thought was the forest, but they're telling us that was the land of the king. And this issue is before court, and we still have it there. So I wouldn't want to go beyond informing you of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This question, Ugman Fred, it's directed to the ED of NEMA. How has NEMA prepared themselves to ensure that investors setting up industries do not build them in prohibited areas? Does NEMA also carry out supervision as these investors are setting up industries?
Thank you. As I said, part of our work is to regulate activities of human beings. Most of the industries, or nearly all the industries, if you're a genuine industry person, if you go to Uganda Investment Authority, or if you're Ugandan, you are required by law to obtain permission from the National Environment Management Authority to undertake your activities, except for single houses, whatever. But if you want to get apartments, you want to get an industry, you are required by law to seek this permission. And that is our routine function at the authority. We do that, we guide, we issue certification, then we follow that you are doing activities according to what we certified you to do. But also, as I said, there is normally a perception. Some people say that most of the people build without permission. There are many, but there are others who start work without permission. Then if they reach the middle, they get problems. Then they come back to us and start the process ahead. So it's a requirement by law to do that, and we do the monitoring. And I think recently when Wakiso was trying to become a city, they wanted to find out how many industries are in Wakiso. So I was asking the guy in Wakiso, but you're in Wakiso, tell me first. It is us who had the data of how many industries were in Wakiso. That is how far we go in terms of our regulation. So we do that. We know them where they're located by the GPS location.
Thank you, Dr. Tom Okrut, Dr. Tom Okello, Honorable Jacob Oulanyah, and Mr. Masembe. I would now like to invite Camilla.
Okay. We can clap for ourselves. Are you guys feeling hot? We brought you here for the breeze exactly, so that if the questions are too hot, we have the breeze to cool you off a bit. But we'd like to say a very big thank you to all of us and all of the ones who have been online, all the questions. Sorry we couldn't answer all of them, but we tried to pick the ones that at least can cover most of the questions for the other people. So kindly, with all due respect, I would like to start from Mr. Tom Okello from NEMA. We give our last remarks for this day, for World Environment Day. And if you don't mind, we'll go ahead to then Mr. Masembe will give the last remarks as we close for the day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, our viewers, and thank you everybody who moderated this program. Ideally, we are here to send that message. We are here to create awareness on environmental issues which are affecting our country. I only want to say that nature is that incredible wonder, what the best wonders in this world, which we must restore, we must protect, we must sustainably manage. If we don't do that, it will speak. And it will speak in that unique language which you don't hear, but which you feel. It will leave us in fear, it will leave us in pain, and leave us in tears when it speaks. So let us do everything possible to ensure that we restore our degraded ecosystems, to ensure that we sustainably manage what we have in this country, to ensure that we protect and jealously guard what we have. Otherwise, nature will go with us. It will take us. We will not live to see the future. Therefore, we either sustainably manage nature, we either listen to it, we should take it to be the core which underpins our economy, our societies, and our survival. Otherwise, we are going to perish. I thank you so much for watching and listening to us.
Thank you very much for being part of these celebrations commemorating World Environment Day. I think there's a saying also that do unto others what you'd want done to you. I think we should extend that saying to how we deal with issues and environment. Do to the environment, do to nature what you would want nature to do to you. If you want nature to kill you, try and damage it. But if you want nature to be part of what sustains your life, makes your life comfortable, then listen to it and give it what you rather it will also give you. So this is a discussion that we should have. Give unto nature what you would want it to give to you. You treat it well, it will give you clean air. You treat it well, it will give you good crops. You treat it well, it will give you good fish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to, as I conclude, I want to give an example. I think sometime in the early 2000s, the word tsunami became normal in our land. The tsunami that took place in the Pacific Ocean, where there was a fault in the earth, 500 kilometers. It just went down by, I don't know what happened, by just a small amount of centimeters, tap like this. But the impact was, it swept and killed. Over 1 million people were killed just in one day. That is nature coming back to us. It's not a perfect approach, as you say. So, as a person who does work to regulate our activity environment, I might feel the people that as the first component of the environment, we have a responsibility. We are given that responsibility of go and benefit from it, dominate, multiply, but take care of it. We have that responsibility. if only every Ugandan takes a responsibility on the environment, on the aspects of environment, whatever form, in whatever form you do, we'll all live in a sustainable and an environment that will provide for all of us. And we need to continue these messages, and I'm very happy the local leadership is here. Let it be a continuous message so that eventually our attitudes can change. Okay, our attitude can change. I know when our colleagues were removed from here, there was a lot of resistance, but just see that your life is in danger. So you must take that responsibility. Let us change our attitude positively, and the environment will feed us. If we don't do it, then the inevitable will come. Thank you.
I have to say one or two things, but I would also like to recognize the presence of Francis Ogwal, the biodiversity expert from NEMA, but in a bit he will come and say a quick hello to the people. But I was asked a question, and the Deputy Speaker turned it around and put the mantle back onto us. What do we like? What is our picture of the world 20 to 30 years from now? And I'll tell you, I would liken it to making a great wine. In making a great wine, all that the winemaker can do is hope that the sun will shine tomorrow, that the hail and the storm will stay away and enable him to harvest the fruits of his team's labor. Now, a beautiful environment for us is like a beautiful crisp wine. We cannot achieve it by just waking up in the morning and throwing grapes in a barrel and then all of a sudden we have a beautiful wine. We have to tender it, we have to nurture it, we have to take care of it, we have to make sure we soothe it with precision. So in summary, my call to action for all of us is let's think of a great wine. Let's think of the environment like a great wine. Let us go out there and do our bit, step by step. Teach our children from plastic pollution, avoiding littering, tree plant, everything with precision and determination. So that at the end of the day, 20 to 30 years from now, we can enjoy our environment like a beautiful, great wine. I thank you for having Little Ones Go Green, for celebrating World Environment Day with us. And before I call the Deputy Speaker to come and see us off in view of planning for curfew and traffic, Mr. Gwal, if they could give you the microphone and you can give us just a word on biodiversity and the commitment of NEMA and Uganda towards keeping this environment safe. In a minute or two, please. Thank you.
Again, I don't know. Yes, I can now hear. Honorable Deputy Speaker, thank you so much for making this day as colorful. You know, I've sat there, I've listened. So for us, some of us look like they're converted already on environment. But for you, I didn't actually know you have that depth of knowledge of the environment today. I'm very much impressed. I think in the Parliament we have you there. So when the matter comes up, we are very sure that things will be properly handled. Now, biodiversity is what you have been talking about in all the discussion here. Biodiversity is basically the variety of living things, plants and animals. And it has levels of ecosystem, these things of the shoreline, the forest, the wetlands. That is biodiversity. So when you have people saying how wetlands are going, they are saying biodiversity is going. When they say forests are going, they're talking biodiversity. Then species, the trees. Like if you look on your side there, you will see on that island, trees are there. That is biodiversity. Then there is the other part which you don't see with the eye, called the genetic diversity. So all the topic that I've been talking here has been basically on biodiversity and nature. Before I leave, Honorable Speaker, I had a very interesting question here. Where are we going to be in 20 years from now? Isn't it? And there is the National Vision 2040, which clearly states that Uganda by 2040 wants to go back to the following. One, we want to go back to the 24% forest cover of 1990 levels. And that cover was 4.9 million hectares. Now he said we have done 12, we are at about 12.4.
We still have a long journey to go. So that is, I don't know whether they read the Vision 2040 themselves. So you see that we only have 20 years left to get there. And for the wetlands as well, it had dropped to about 8. Up to now, it could be even slightly less. But we also want to go back to the 1990 levels. That is about 13%, 29,000 square kilometers. So when you see Uganda has got the frameworks in place that actually can help us achieve what we want to achieve. We are losing currently about 120,000 to about 150,000 hectares. He's talking about the tree planting. If we plant 120,000 hectares in a year, we don't even need to harvest. Because if we harvest 120,000 hectares in a year and plant that, it is zero. No work done. So there's a lot simply to be done because of the damage that we've done. But the beauty of it all, we are all losers. We have been the problem, so I'm sure that we are going to tackle this. Lastly, diseases. You see, the executive director mentioned something about it. I want to talk briefly about the pandemics now, the COVID. With the deforestation happening, you expect more wild animals from there to come out of the forest and invade the communities and make contacts with the communities. What diseases would you think? You might hear another version of another virus, this time not even COVID. So God was wise to say certain animals will stay in certain habitats. But we go, we destroy. Then those animals have a right to survive. They come out and make contact. So destroying the environment is going to have problematic events only for us the years to come. So we are all in it to make sure that the environment is better conserved. And lastly, to tell you, Honorable Speaker, that globally, the quest to protect biodiversity and the environment is happening. A framework which is going to last for 30 years is being developed called the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, looking at all these things we're talking about. Uganda and Canada is co-chairing the development of that. And on behalf of Uganda, it is NEMA, the institution, but specifically it is me who is with the gentleman from Canada called Van Haaf. It's a very big task we have, a 30-year framework, and we will be domesticated here in Uganda. So thank you so much. Again, I would like to thank you for getting time, the panelists for coming. You've made this a very wonderful work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And in asking, I don't know if it's protocol, but in asking us to close, I would like the ED of NEMA, in letting the Deputy Speaker take him to see the submerged place, and then we can now be able to disappear and try to catch traffic. Thank you.
Boss, what else?